All right, sixth graders. So today you guys are going to be learning about protein, and we're going to be using that paper food in front of you to be doing some sorting of the different types of protein and also taking some notes as we go. So first of all, I want to show you how to get to the protein information. So on the quick links page on the nutrition unit, you just have to choose protein. And when you choose that, it gives you protein information and then the protein notes. So the note side is what the paper copy that you have, and you're going to be filling this out as we go. So have that out and ready. And then this protein presentation is what I'm going to be discussing with you. So we'll start off by um, going through this. So first of all, proteins. So add this to your notes on your paper where it has definition. So you're going to write the definition. Helps build and repair muscles. And then give it some sort of picture to help you remember what proteins do for you. Proteins help to build and repair muscles. It's super duper important for your body, but you don't want it in excess. So if you've ever heard of the term getting ripped, like literally what you're doing is ripping little teeny tiny tears in your muscles, and protein goes in and fixes those little tears and makes your muscles bigger. So proteins are going to be super duper important for your body. At this point, I would like you all to go ahead and with the paper food in front of you, I want you to make a pile of all of the food that has protein and a pile of the food that does not have protein. So we'll pause here and take about 4 minutes to do that. So once you're done with that, you can go ahead and get your notes back out. Go ahead and put the foods that do not have any protein back into the bucket. You don't need those ones anymore. If you didn't quite finish sorting all the food, not a big deal. Just put it back in the bucket also. It's not a big deal at all. So when we're looking at the foods that have protein, pay attention to what kinds of foods they are. You might notice that in the non-protein category, there were a lot of fruits, vegetables, the ketchup, mustard, those foods. They do not have a whole lot of protein. That doesn't make them bad for you. It just means that it doesn't have that protein that helps to build and repair your muscles. So now you can go ahead and get your notes back out. On the left side of the page, so right here, blank grams or more, you can go ahead and write in 5 or more grams. So in order for a food to be considered a protein food, it needs to have 5 or more grams of protein. So if a food has less than 5 grams, that doesn't make it bad. It's just not a protein food. Um, Protein foods oftentimes are high in fat, depending on the type of protein food that you're eating. Fish is a very low fat. Beans, almonds, peanuts, those types of foods are very low in fat, whereas like the steak and the hamburger and the bacon are going to be higher in fat. So now with the pile that you have that is made out of protein, I want you to go ahead and separate out the foods that would be considered protein foods and the foods that just have protein. So one pile will have foods that have 5 or more grams of protein. The other pile will have food that has less than 5. So 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. How do you know? If you look on the back of those little paper foods, there's a food label on there, and if you find the protein one, it'll tell you whether it has 5 or more grams or less than 5. So take about 4 minutes, pause here, and then sort out your foods. All right, so the next thing that we're going to be looking at is groups of protein. So you can go ahead and put the foods that you separated out that are not protein group foods. So you can put those back in the bucket. All we need is the foods that are considered protein foods. And on your notes, in this box and this box, it doesn't matter which side you write it on, it's not a big deal. One will go here and one will go here. You're going to write the words plant in one box and animal in the other box. So proteins are usually grouped into two groups, plant-based protein foods and animal-based protein foods. So the plant-based protein foods are going to be like the peanuts and the almonds and the beans, whereas the animal-based protein foods are going to be like the chicken and the steak and the fish. Now, keep in mind, animal-based protein foods are also products that come from animals. So if you find that cheese has a whole bunch of protein in it and you could classify it as a protein food, that would still be considered an animal source of protein because cheese comes from milk and milk comes from cows. Same goes for eggs. So now that pile of protein foods, I want you to take and separate them out: plant-based protein and animal-based protein. Go ahead and take about 2 or 3 minutes to do that. Pause here. Okay, so two really just super duper important things about plant-based proteins and animal-based proteins. So on your notes, we're right here. This little blank, you're going to write a word, and this little blank, you're going to write a word. So if you put plants up in this box, you're going to write the word unsaturated. I'll put it up here in a second so you know how to spell it. And in this box, you're going to write the word saturated. Nope, nope, this box says animals, and next to it right here, you're going to write the word saturated. So plant sources of protein have unsaturated fats. So why is that important? Well, unsaturated fats are typically liquid at room temperature, and when they go into your system, they're in a liquid form, and I like to think of it as they flow better through your blood, whereas animal sources of protein, while they're okay in small amounts, saturated fats actually go into our bodies solid, or when they get into our body, they turn back into a solid. And when that happens, you end up with the clogged arteries, which can cause things such as a heart attack and stroke. So I'm not saying you should never have a saturated fat. That's not at all what I'm saying. I'm saying you have to be careful about the amount of saturated fats that you have. Whereas unsaturated fats, you can honestly eat a lot of those before you have any sort of problem with that. Um, so saturated fats are any animal sources. So that includes things like the eggs and the yogurt and the milk, because those all come from animal products as well. You just have to be careful of the amount that you're eating. So now you should have just a little bit left on your notes. So you have these 3 bubbles left on your notes. So now what you're going to do is draw and label. So it says right here, draw an example of a plant source of protein. So if you wrote plant in this top box, you're going to put in 3 examples of plant proteins, and you should have found some in the bucket if you don't know what to put. So that's the top boxes, 1, 2, 3. And then the bottom boxes, 1, 2, 3. You're going to do the same thing, only with animal sources of protein. So pick your favorite animal sources of protein foods, draw a picture, and label it. When you're done with that, go ahead and store this in your folder. You're going to, if you have extra time right now, I want you to finish up your MyPlate projects. I will collect them tomorrow, so no worries about turning them in today. I'll make sure that I get them from you all tomorrow. Tomorrow we are going to be talking about beans, and we're going to be playing bingo. All I ask tomorrow is that you do not come in with a negative attitude. I need you all to be positive tomorrow because I've got a lot of interesting stories that I think you're going to like to hear. So please make sure that you come in with a positive attitude tomorrow. If you have any questions, I will be here at 8 o'clock tomorrow, or try emailing me. I just can't make any promises that I will answer. I had to take my dog to the emergency room last week or last night, and let's just say the sewing supplies and him don't mix. So remember, if you need to reference back to anything, it's on the protein page of the website. So there's the protein notes. So go ahead and check that out if you have any questions. I will see you all tomorrow.